Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. This is Newsfeed on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. The Court of Appeals grants the freeze order request by the Anti-Money Laundering Council on assets of fugitive Pastor Apollo Quiboloy and 9 of his associates. In a copy obtained by Bilyonaryo.com, the freeze order includes the following: Quiboloy's assets, 10 bank accounts with BDO Unibank and Metrobank, 7 properties in Davao City, Davao del Norte and Rojas City, 5 vehicles including a Toyota Land Cruiser and a Cessna plane. Several assets of Quiboloy's mega church, the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, and its subsidiaries like SMNI Media are also in the freeze order list. The AMLAC began investigating Quiboloy's financial activities after a request from the Justice Department last December 18, 2023. The House of Representatives will summon former President Rodrigo Duterte to its probe on illegal POGO operations and extrajudicial killings. Meanwhile, the House has detained the corporate secretary of POGO, Lucky South 99. This after she was cited in contempt for refusing to answer members of the committee investigating the POGO fiasco. Hanati reports.
In just less than 24 hours since the House of Representatives authorized the consolidation of investigations into criminal activities linked to illegal POGOs, illegal drugs, extrajudicial killings, and human rights violations, the Quad Committee has identified its possible resource persons in a hearing that will be conducted next week. Among them are former President Rodrigo Duterte, his former spokesman Harry Roque, and his former police chief and now Senator Bato de la Rosa. However, the Quad Committee, composed of the Committees on Dangerous Drugs, Public Order and Safety, Human Rights, and Public Accounts, said that they will extend inter-parliamentary courtesy to their resource persons.
If any of the committees will deem it proper to invite the former president or any resource persons for that matter, as long as makakatulong, bakit hindi? Kaya ng sinabi ni Chairman Acop, karapatan din po nilang tumanggi. And we will respect that. This has nothing to do with political or anything of the previous administration. Hindi. Nagkakataon lamang na kasi bago pa lang itong ating administrasyon sa ngayon.
Nagkataon lang po ngayon that the leadership in the House, we as chairman, ginawa namin yung trabaho namin.
Prior to next week's hearing, Roque once again found himself in the hot seat as the House Committee on Public Order held its last hearing as a single committee. Roque was asked about Executive Order No. 13, which was signed by Duterte in 2017. The EO was formulated to strengthen the country's campaign against illegal gambling, but the persistent rise in criminal activities linked to POGOs has raised concerns about its effectiveness. One congressman asked, why did Roque not advise Duterte on these matters?
I do not think I had that function. I could only speak for the president. I could not actually countermand him. I could not correct him. He is my principal. I am unable to give an opinion now, not being thoroughly familiar with the EO as well as the underpinnings behind the issuance of Executive Order No. 13. I'm so sorry, Your Honor, it's not within my field of expertise.
I find it strange na sa dami po ng hearing na ina-attendan niya, both in the Senate and in the Congress, all pertaining to POGOs, he have not come across EO number 13, from which the POGOs or the online gaming started.
Meanwhile, the corporate secretary of Lucky South 99 was cited in contempt for allegedly evading the questions of lawmakers. Ronaldin Baterna claimed she's a receptionist turned corporate secretary who signed documents as instructed over the phone. Fernandez said Baterna wields an amount of authority for communicating with lawyers for the company, which in previous interpellations, she said she was only being instructed what to do. Baterna also failed to name Lucky South 99's owners.
Kung ikaw nakipag-coordinate sa kanila, sino nag-utos sa iyo para makipag-coordinate ka sa abogado na ginagamit ng Lucky South? Sino?
Ako po.
Alam mo, hindi mo sinasagot ng tama yung tanong ko on Miss Ronaldin Baterna. Ang dami niyang pagsisinungaling kanina pa And she's been in the company since 2019 up to 2024, up to now. And this woman is really, may alam siya eh, but withholding it for herself.
I move to cite in contempt Ms. Baterna in violation of our internal rules, Section 11, paragraph C of our rules. The violation is refusal to answer questions from the members of this committee. In short, she is lying, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing no objection, Ronaldin Baterna is hereby cited in contempt.
Baterna will be detained at the House of Representatives for 30 days. Baterna appealed for consideration, but the House members did not grant her plea. Hannity, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The House Committee on Dangerous Drugs says the ICC is free to use the records from the ongoing congressional hearing on the Duterte drug war for its investigation. Committee Chair Robert Ace Barbers emphasized the legislative hearings are public and anyone can access their records. He adds it's up to the ICC how they will use the information in their probe. But the chairman of the Committee on Human Rights, Benny Abante, is against the idea and says he prefers the ICC to gather evidence on its own. The Philippine economy sustains its momentum in the second quarter of the year. It grew by 6.3% in the April to June period. This is faster than the 5.8% expansion in the first quarter and faster than the 4.3% growth recorded in the same period last year. The growth was mainly driven by government spending. Private consumption remained sluggish as inflation continues to hamper spending. Still, economic managers say the second quarter GDP print puts the Philippine economy on track to reach the government's 6 to 7% growth target for the year.
This performance keeps our position as one of Asia's best performing major emerging economies. For East Asia's economies that have released their second quarter 2024 GDP growth, we follow behind Vietnam at 6.9%, while leading Malaysia at 5.8%, Indonesia at 5.0%, and China at 4.7%.
The country's employment rate improves in June compared to May, but as Beatriz de la Cruz tells us, rising prices are dampening the positive jobs figures.
More people had jobs in June compared to May this year and the same period last year, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. The PSA says the employment rate in June rose to 96.9%, up slightly from 95.9% in May and 95.5% a year ago.
Tumaas yung ating labor force participation rate, no? Substantial yun. At dahil dito ay tumaas yung ating employed persons. In fact, year on year, tumaas yung ating employed persons ng 1.44 million, which is quite substantial.
MAPA says the increase was mainly pushed by construction, followed by wholesale and retail trade, then accommodation and food services. The services sector also takes the largest share in the labor force, followed by agriculture, then industries. The number of people without jobs or sources of income went down in June, according to the PSA. From 4.1% in May, it dropped to 3.1%, but employers say there's a need to address demand in certain sectors.
There's a bit of seasonality there, no? On the unemployment. There's a demand as of now. I mean, there's a demand in the healthcare service, like there's a demand for nursing. There's a demand for higher skilled jobs, no? In the IT sectors. But again, we have to focus on how to develop more highly skilled workers to take on this job.
While there may have been more people with jobs in June, MAPA says many also found their employment or sources of income insufficient to cover their needs, making the underemployment rates rise. From 9.9 in May, it shot up to 12.1 in June.
Ang nangyayari, dahil lumaki yung na-absorb ng ating labor market, hindi lahat ay nagkaroon ng parang tinatawag natin na full-time jobs.
The rising cost of goods also casts a shadow on the rise in employment and further justifies the need for additional income sources. On Monday, the PSA also revealed the inflation rate was at 4.4% in July, the fastest since November last year.
Ang problema sa atin, pinakamataas sa minimum wage natin dito sa Southeast Asia, sa ASEAN. Pero, pinakamataas naman ang bilihin natin. That's the problem. Mataas din ang fuel cost natin, electricity, mataas ang food items natin.
The labor market may be seeing a slight revival, especially as both government and the private sector hold frequent job fairs across the country. But while that spell opportunity to Filipinos, soaring prices continue to leave most people struggling to make ends meet.
The very least, price control man lang. Huwag payagan na may lingguhang pagtaas ng presyo ng produktong petrolyo kasi barometro siya sa nagtataas ng presyo ng pagkain. Kawawa talaga yung mga kababayan natin.
Bea de la Cruz, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
A terror threat forces the cancellation of global pop superstar Taylor Swift's concerts in Vienna. Austria's government confirmed the planned attack at the Ernst Happel Stadium, arresting 2 suspects. One of them, a 19-year-old Austrian who reportedly pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. 3 Eras tour shows were scheduled in Vienna. Authorities were expecting at least 65,000 attendees each night and 15,000 more outside the stadium. Tennis superstar Rafael Nadal is skipping the U.S. Open due to concerns about his fitness. This is the 3rd Grand Slam tournament that the 38-year-old Nadal will miss this season. The Spaniard says his next event will be the Laver Cup in Berlin next month. Nadal, a 4-time champion at the U.S. Open, also sat out the Australian Open and skipped Wimbledon to prepare for the Paris Games, where he lost to eventual champion Novak Djokovic. The former world #1 has fallen to 159th in the rankings after struggling with injuries for 2 years. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay tuned to BNC for more top-of-the-hour news. Catch us on Free TV Channel 31 and also on our website, bnc.ph. Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.